All right. All right. My name's Ross VanSlyke, and I decided to do my paper on marijuana. Uh, this is a little introduction of what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to talk a little about the history of marijuana, some of the deviants that kind of are evolving social opinion. Social opinion and deviance is kind of the same thing in my PowerPoint. I'm going to talk about the effects of marijuana, both the positive and negative, a little bit about the downside of legalizing marijuana, uh, some statistics and some of the money it generates in our country, and just kind of my future proposal. And Shakespeare, there's kind of been a little history. Some researchers think Shakespeare was actually smoking weed when he wrote about the journey in his head he had in his Sonnet 27. And he really kind of talked about weed a lot. I kind of did a little research, which was kind of cool. Uh, Now moving on to the deviants, Hispanics were scrutinized. Uh, they kind of thought weed was their problem, and they brought it here. So everybody just kind of blamed the Hispanics for the weed epidemic. They were highly stigmatized, and they just really wanted to get Hispanics out of the U.S. because we didn't really need their manual labor anymore. Uh, Propaganda. This is a little picture. Just kind of shows how we really thought weed was a really bad thing. And then the Marijuana Tax Act came in 1935. Uh, Now we're on evolving social opinions. Uh, this is still a Scheduled 1 drug. And under that, it's a Schedule 1 drug is highly addictive and it has no medicinal value, which we know marijuana is used for like seizures and such things like that. The devil's lettuce is kind of what we call it. It's kind of a stigma back in the day. A cool statistic was I found while doing some research. It was from the New England Journal of Medicine, and it said 76% of physicians would prescribe marijuana to a patient with deteriorating cancer. And kind of our government, 59% of Democrats support marijuana legalization, 59% of independents, and only 39% Republicans, which I thought was kind of mind blowing, honestly. Now we're on the effects of marijuana. Some of the benefits CBD and THC, negatives. The researchers have found that it affects our IQ up to 8 points if it's prolonged use, which is really crazy if you think about it. Addiction. Marijuana isn't really addicting. People just get addicted to getting high. They like that feeling and they just want to be high all the time. Some researchers have found marijuana usage brings poor school performance. And another one I thought of was peer pressure, like your friends peer pressuring you into trying it for the first time, stuff like that. This little chart I thought was pretty cool. The effects of marijuana on your muscles, it kind of relaxes you, your throat. It's kind of a burning sensation during inhalation. Your eyes, they get bloodshot, kind of foggy vision, messes with your vision. Brain, you get a little drowsy, lightheaded. Your mouth, it turns dry. Your heart, it quickens. Your heart rate in your skin, you get a hot and cool sensation. And all these combined really make driving dangerous. That's why Colorado's has had a big problem with people driving while they're high. Downside of legalizing weed, kind of on a different note, kind of how it's packaged. Kids really like bright things, so I mean they're kind of going to be attracted to it, and if they eat edibles or anything like that, it could be kind of a dangerous situation. Growing number of hospital visits, edibles, more potent doses have been seen, and kids really get their hands on them, and that just is a bad situation. There's been a lot of deaths directly attributed to the legalization of weed, kind of like traffic accidents and stuff like that. It's not really staying inside Colorado's border. Nebraska's seen a big problem with people driving it through, getting pulled over, stuff like that. Again, getting into the hands of children. And DWS, driving while stoned. It's made up of about 12% of all citations, traffic citations in Colorado, and that's from the Colorado State Patrol. Money and other statistics. It generates a lot of taxes and fees for Colorado. A lot of that is used for educational purposes. It's also not really met the projections that they thought it would bring. Kind of a cool note on crimes, violent crime, robberies. Since weed has been legalized, it's fallen 4.8%. Assaults, they've fallen 3.7%. And all crime has fallen 10%, which is really cool. And kind of a question for you guys to think about. Is there a relationship between weed and violent crime? Kind of a good discussion. And my future proposal, what does the future hold? I think weed will be legalized. Right now, 9 states and Washington, D.C. have it recreational legalized. Those states, you don't need a letter for your doctor to have like personal amounts with you, and you must be over 21. 29 states have legalized marijuana, medical marijuana, which I think that'll be going up and up in the next probably 10 years or so. Who's really going to solve this issue? I think it's going to take a social movement, something like that. Should weed be legalized everywhere? I think it should, but we need to regulate it so we can make money off of it and kind of keep control of it. Our prison systems could really take a huge benefit from this. People being in prison for weed and stuff. I just think that's a waste of our money and our resources, that sort of stuff. And we need help as soon as possible. And in conclusion, I talked about the history, a little bit about the deviants, our social opinions, the effects, both positive and negative, downside of legalizing weed and money, and a few of our other statistics, and talking about our future proposal. So thank you.